Hello, everyone. This is John Galt speaking, here with a live stream for you fellows and fellettes. So someone sent me a contribution via PayPal yesterday and asked for me to cover a topic which I have covered before, but it's probably buried in the middle of a 4-hour live stream of me rambling. So I thought that I would make this video a dedicated video about randomization, right? I don't remember exactly what I named this live stream, but it's something to the effect of making things more random in your games, right? So there's a lot of things that people do in games that could be spruced up a little bit, made a little bit more interesting by adding a randomization type mechanic to something that you've already created. So what I thought I would do is just dick around here on a live stream and give my perspective a little bit about things that I consider, maybe you should randomize. Okay. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do. I got me a root beer here. Let me get me a drink. And we'll get started. And so I don't have any specific mechanics in mind, really. So we're just going to create a default third-person template, and we'll start there, right? We'll go in there, and we'll talk a little bit about randomization, how you achieve it, and maybe even why you would want to. Like, why would you want something to be random? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Okay. And so, I don't never write any scripts or anything for these live streams. We just get in here and we do it live. Okay. So we're going to create a default third person template here. Oh, and by the way, I do appreciate the person that sent the contribution. That was a pretty good contribution. So thank you very much for that. And, yeah, so if you guys want to request a topic for me to cover or talk about, or just make a video on anything in particular or anything at all, a specific topic, or just make one, the way that happens generally is that there is links in the descriptions of my videos for my PayPal account. There's also a button in my banner that you can click. And when you send me a contribution, it gives you the opportunity to type in a message. Okay. And so before you do that, send me an email. My email address is also in the descriptions of these videos. And ask me before you send a contribution, like say, hey, I would send you a contribution if you will cover this. And then I'll reply back to you as to whether or not I'd be interested in doing it. Because, see, the reason that you guys have to do this, just to be clear here, is because sometimes people request things that I can't put in a 1 or 2 hour video. Okay. They send me like a $10 contribution and want me to instruct them how to build their entire game. Well, you guys know you can't put that in a 1 hour video. Okay. And then there's also sometimes people send questions or want me to talk about or cover something that I don't have any idea how to do, right? I don't know how to do everything. Nobody knows how to do everything. So that happens occasionally. And then sometimes people want me to cover something that I've already covered and it's on my YouTube page already. So I reply back and, tell them, hey, already covered that. It's right here. And then sometimes they send things that I just flat out don't want to do. So always ask me via email something that you would like to see covered or talked about before. And then when I get back to you and say, yeah, I'll do that, then you can send your contribution or donation to the PayPal links that are listed. Okay. Okay. So where do we start? Where do we begin? What are we doing? Okay. So let me just hit the play button here and make sure that we flop into the game here. Yes, we do. Imagine that, a third-person template that works. Who would have thought? Okay, so one thing that I get asked a lot when it comes to the topic of randomization is numbers. Okay, numbers, simple numbers. And so I think that's where we'll start. Okay, so we're going to create us a new folder here. Let's see here. How do we do this? I ain't been in this engine in 100 years, and we'll just call this testing stuffs. Okay, and inside here we're going to create an actor, just a simple actor. So we're going to create a blueprint class. It's going to be an actor, and we're just going to call this BP random numbers gen. How about that? Random number gens. Okay, we're going to open this thing up, and we're just going to put us a visual representation in this thing so that we can see it. Okay, so we're going to add a static mesh component, and we're just going to call this SM cube. How about that? Maybe we can find a cube in here. Is there a cube in here? Oh, look at that. Beautiful. So we're just going to put a cube in here, just like so. Compile that and save it, and let's drag it out into the world here and just see how big it is. All right, it's that big. Okay. And really, once again, the only reason that I put this cube in here is so that when we spawn in here, we can see the damn thing. Okay, that's it. Let me bring Chad over here. I'm in no hurry, so feel free to ask your questions at any time, and maybe we'll get to it. First, let me do some of the randomization stuff, and then we'll get back to questions that you guys have that tuned in live. So hello, Robin. Hey, when you get a minute, I have a question you might know the answer to. When you do cast and make that into a variable for other use later, do those subsequent references via that stored variable count as a full cast in terms of resources, or is it lighter than that? Once you cast an object and store it, I believe that's a wrap, right? I mean, that means it's stored. It no longer has to cast to it because you have already cast to it and stored the item. So yeah, once you store it in an item, I believe it doesn't cast again. It only casts that first time, I believe. Okay. All right, so with this little item here that we're creating, we're also going to add some, I mean, we could create a widget to do this, but we could also just add a text component, maybe. Let's see, what is that called? Did they take it out? Oh, I'm doing a search in the wrong place. All right, we need to add a text renderer. Okay, so we're going to put this text renderer on here. Maybe raise that up a pinch, and maybe let's put that like maybe kind of in the middle, and then maybe do some stupid alignment here. So we'll center that, and we'll set the text to the center. And this ain't going to be nothing fancy, guys. We're not building AAA games here. We're just talking about mechanics, okay? All right, so now let's see. Oh, look at that. It is there, but it's backwards. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and rotate that around just so it's facing us and we don't have to walk behind it. So we'll rotate that a full 180 degrees, and there it is. Right, so now when we spawn in here, we'll have this text component above it, and we're going to randomly generate a value to put in it. Okay, something simple as a random number. That's where we'll start. Okay, so in the event graph, I suppose we'll just do this on event begin play. Okay, maybe we won't do it instantaneously. Let's put a delay here, and we will just put a delay of some duration here. Let's just say 5 seconds for now. And then we're going to use an integer, okay? And the reason we're going to use an integer is because that is a whole value number. Floats are also numbers, but they are decimal pointed numbers. So what we want to display here, obviously, is a whole number, okay? And so there's nodes built right into this engine for just this kind of thing, right? So if you type random int, and you have this random integer function, okay? Actually, I mean, you could use this, okay? Well, we'll talk about all these different ones, right? So let's start here. And then we're going to take our text renderer, and we're going to set text render, set text, okay? And we'll plug this in here like this. We'll talk about several different things that you could do here to make it a little bit more interesting. So we'll start real simple, and then we'll move a little bit further, and then we'll just take this and plug it up, and it'll automatically convert it for us. Okay, see that? And this is the max value, right? So we will put 10 in. So pick a number, a random number between 0 and 10, and put it in that text render. So let's see what this actually does here. And it picked a 7, okay? And then if we do this again, maybe 5 seconds is a bit too long. This time it picked a 2. So every time the event begin play on that item fires, it's going to pick a random number and display it above the item, okay? Simple, stupid. All right, now let's flavor this up a little bit. So another thing that you could do is that you could do a set timer by event. Okay, so instead of, let's change this down to maybe, well, let's just leave it at 5. Okay, so instead of doing what we're doing here, we're going to change this a little bit. Okay, so we're going to create a custom event here. And we're going to plug this into this timer loop here, like so. And we're going to move this down to here. And instead, what we're going to do, and you can name this custom event, like we could just call it something like tick number. We're going to have this loop every 1 second. And we're going to set it to be looping. So now what should happen is, once this timer starts after 5 seconds, it's going to start doing this. So every 1 second, it's going to pick a different random number between 0 and 10 and put it in there, theoretically. So let's go see if that's exactly what happens here. And go. And there you have it, right? So it's grabbing random numbers between 0 and 10, and it's changing that value to one of those random numbers every 1 second. See that? Now, once again, we're not going to be building crazy mechanics here, but seeing these types of demonstrations should give you guys some ideas as to where this could be used in some sort of a mechanic that you've already made or you're contemplating making to give it a bit of randomization. Okay. And this is just a simple number. Okay. Like you could make it to where you can only pick that item up whenever it's on a specific number, as an example. Okay. All right. So that works. Now what we can do is, instead of using random integer, what we can do is random int in range this time. So now this node is a little bit different than the previous node in the fact that you can plug in a minimum number that it'll choose and a maximum number it will choose. Okay. So for example, here, you might want to pick a number between 0 and 9 as an example. So it's very similar to what we just did. The only difference is that you can pick a range to do this from. So this is going to be very similar. Let's just go ahead and pop in here and let it do its thing. And there you have it, right? Same thing, but a little bit different. Okay, now another thing that you might want to try to do is generate a string of numbers, not just a single number. Okay. So what you could do in that case is, let's just say that you want it to generate a I don't know, a 10-digit number. And each one of those numbers that it generates, you don't want two of those numbers to be identical. So think of it kind of like maybe trying to generate a random value for opening a door or unlocking something. And you want the combination to that lock to be completely different every single time. And the numbers that it chooses to populate the lock combination, you don't want it to have 2 zeros or 2 ones or 2 9s or 2 3s. You want each and every value to be a different value, but you want it to only pick values from 0 to 9. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and see if we can't try to figure out how we could set something like that up. Okay. So let's just unhook this set text here. And for now, we're just going to unhook this. So the timer, this timer thing here would still be relevant. Okay. Because it's going to have to keep generating numbers until we get to a specific range of numbers. Okay. So we're going to leave this as 0 to 9. And we need to create an array of numbers, but we need each of those numbers to be unique. Well, I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with arrays or not, but you can do a add to array. Maybe let's just type array. Okay. And let's see if I can find this. There is a okay, right here. So you have two different array utilities. You got one called add, and then you've got another one in here that nobody ever uses and nobody ever talks about that I've ever seen, which is called add unique. Okay, so see there, both of these are similar. This is what you can use to make an array. And if you guys are unaware, an array is a variable that can contain more than one of that type. So let me just show you. We will create a variable here, and we're going to call this numbers. Okay, we're going to change it from a boolean to a integer, and then we're going to hit this little drop down here. Not that, right here, this one. Do you see how you can set this to be an array, right? And when you do that, if you look, you have these default values here where you can add elements to it. Okay, so let's say we want a string of numbers that are 10, right? Wouldn't it be 10? 0 through 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so that means that if you store these, not this one, let's just talk about the unique one. If you store those via add unique, it will not allow the same number to be put in that array more than once. Does that make sense? So we're going to bring this in, and we're going to set it. Hang on a second. Get this. This goes here. Yeah, that's right. And then this goes here. Okay. So what this will do is it will take our array here, which has got a slot for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's got a slot for 9 numbers, and they're all 0 at this specific time. So if we do this here, it should theoretically, now I don't know if this is going to work or not. I'm just shooting the breeze here with you guys, trying to show you a little bit about how I go about randomizing things. So theoretically, what should happen here is it should keep generating random numbers between 0 and 9, and it will continue to add those numbers to this array until it no longer has any unique numbers that it can add to that array. So let's put a print string here, just so that we can kind of monitor what's happening here. And let's see if this actually even kind of sort of works. It may not, right? We will just have to keep working at it until we see. So let's spawn in here, and we will wait for that 5 seconds, and then that thing will start ticking. And watch in the upper left-hand corner. So we got a 9, a 10, 11, a -1, 13, -1, -1, 14. So no, obviously that is not doing what we were trying to do here. Random integer in range from 0 to 9. And it's putting negative values and stuff in it, so that can't be right. And it even put a 10 in it, so that can't be right either. Let me think here. My brain's stuck, but we'll figure it out. So let me unhook it from here, and let's go straight to here. And let's just see if we can get that. I mean, this thing, that shouldn't have happened, but maybe it's because I need to do something a little different here. Let's just see what these values are that pop up. Six, 1, 1, 3, 6, 3, 0, 0, 8, 3. So it is generating random numbers between the value. So maybe instead of this, what we need to do is, instead of that, we need to make array. No, it wouldn't be make array, right? Because all that does is give you the ability to make an array. So it's definitely add, well, right here it is. It's add unique, right? So that is exactly what it's supposed to do here. And nine array elements. The index of newly added item, or index none if the item is already present in the array. So that should be doing what I'm trying to do here, but yeah, you know, who knows? It's been a while since I did this. Let's try this one more time here and see what happens. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, -1. Oh, you know what? I bet you I know why it's doing that. Hang on just a second. We are... It could be that, but it could also be that what we need to do is a for each loop, right? Because what that's doing is that's printing out the index that it put it in. Okay. So after it does that, what we need to do is run through said index, right? So let's bring in the numbers here. We need to run through the index, loop through it, and we need to array element. We need to print this out, I believe, right? Because that's what's in the index, not the index. Is that right? Let's see. How about now? I think this right here might be closer to what we're trying to do, but I need to stop it, right? So after the index reaches a value, we need to kill the timer. Right? Isn't that right? So we will promote this to a variable, and we will call this numbers timer handle. And when this right here will get the length is how many are in it. And when this is less than, this has to be less than or equal to 9. And then we put a branch here. We'll get it, guys. Just hang in there. This is prototyping stuff. Okay? That's how this works. So if this is less than or equal to 9, it needs to not, right? Not equal to 9. I do this every time. Yeah. If this is not less than or equal to 9, I'm going to confuse myself with these booleans here. We need to get the timer handle. And we need to clear and invalidate timer by handle. That'll kill it. Wait a minute. We need to move. We literally, okay, look. We got an order of operations problem here. Hold on a damn minute. This check needs to go in front of this. I'll get this cleaned up here. Just give me a second. So if this is less than or equal to, that ain't even right either. It just needs to, what I'm trying to do here is to get this to keep adding numbers until it reaches 9. And when it reaches 9, the length of this is equal. Yeah. If this is equal, this has to, when this equals 9, that's when we're going to stop it. So as long as that's not equal to 9, we're going to keep adding to this unique array. And then when it does equal 9, that's when we're going to kill it. And then when we kill it, we're going to run through the array and we're going to print out what numbers it selected, which theoretically should be 9. And each one of them should be different. So let's try this again, shall we? I said we wasn't going to get stupidly complex in here, but it looks like we are after all. Okay, so it fired one time, so obviously I've got my logic wrong here. That does need to be less than. Damn it. Am I really going to sit here and just keep mashing this same button and bringing this up? Is that really what's going to happen here? Less than or equal. If it's less than or equal, we need to reverse these. That goes here. And we will unhook this. And this one will go in the false like this. I think. I always talk myself into a corner here when I'm trying to do shit live. So let's see. How about now? It printed out and it killed them all and it didn't do shit. So what am I breaking here? Okay, so if this is less, oh, that's because I didn't put a value in it, dummy. Yeah, that's got to be 9. Hello? How about now? Gee, I wonder how games get made. and it still did the same damn thing. So obviously we're still fucked here. If it is true, less than or equal to 9, well, that should be firing. Let me put a print string here. It could be that I'm doing the for each loop wrong, okay? So let's do some debugging here. So theoretically, this damn thing right here should keep running. Let me just unhook this. We'll fix it, and it will be sweet when we get it done. Okay, go. It fired a single time. So it's this right here. It's got to be. Is it because we've already got 9 elements in it and they're all zeros? Is that what it is? Let's delete all those. I bet you that's what it is, actually. And now it has none in it, and it should keep adding them to it until it gets to 9. Is that how this works? Just so you guys know, I really hate arrays. I really hate messing with them. I literally hate them. So there, that's what it was. It was just keeping doing that because it already had that many in it. So now we're getting somewhere. Potentially. Okay, so now let's see if this does it. What do you guys think? Place your wagers. Is this actually going to do it? I don't know, but we will see. It'll take it a while if it's working, right? Because it has to keep adding numbers until it gets 9 numbers from 0 to 9, and each of them unique. How long should we wait? You know what? Maybe we should speed that up. Is that what we should do? Let's change this loop here to 0.1 seconds. How about that? That ought to fill that summit up quicker. Maybe put a print string here just again because now I'm paranoid. Just make sure that thing's still running. Go. There it is. And it did print it out. Okay, so we needed to put a little bit more pep in its step to get that thing to fill up quicker. And let's make this print string stay up for 10 seconds after it prints so that we can kind of look through the values here. I think we got it, guys. Hallelujah. Voila. And there you have it. And each one of those numbers is different. Okay. Now we need to get it to display on top of this box. Okay. So how the hell are we going to do that, right? Because that text has, well, I mean, could we do this? Let's see here. So it's definitely doing that. It's definitely doing what we're trying to get it to do. Now the trick becomes we need it to display that value that it finally selects. At the end of that, we need that to print up over top of that box. Well, we're using a text renderer, right? So it will not accept numbers, I don't think, but we could do what we did here, which is convert the integer to a text. But we have to get all those separate numbers and put them. See, because if we do a for each loop here, then that ain't what we need to do. We need to loop through the array to get each individual number. And then we need to display them individually, right? We don't want to just add those numbers together. That's not what we're trying to do here. So let me think for a minute. How can we do this? So we need to take however many are in it. I mean, we're doing a print string. I wonder what happens if we were to just do this. When this is completed. Let me unhook this. We'll keep bashing at it till we get something here. But we're going to have to, surely to crap, we're not going to have to put a damn text render for every digit of the number. Surely we ain't going to have to do that. So let's say that we get those numbers and we loop through those numbers. And we don't want the index, right? So it's definitely got to be this. And this will change that many damn times, right? Because see, that I don't think this is what we're trying to do, but let's just give it a whirl, right? I mean, this is what prototyping's all about. It either works or it don't. And you got to keep bashing the shit out of it until you get it to work. I suspect it's going to, yeah, it's going to do that, which is exactly not what we're trying to do here. So it'll print them out individually. Maybe we could, no, because then that's going to stack them all up at the same. So that ain't going to work either. We need to, what do we need to do here? Well, that's because we did that. Maybe we should do this, right? So that's still not going to do what we're trying to do, I don't think, but let's just try it anyway. This may be a little bit more hard than I thought, but there's got to be a way to display all those without putting, see there, it's still just going to give us that one digit, which is exactly not what we're trying to do here. And if you can do it in a print string, let me bring Chad over here and say hello to everybody before I get lost in translation. So, hello, Ripper Junkie. Hello, the Kiwi Kingdom. So it's printing the -1. It's the index none. That is correct. Hello from Argentina. Hello. And hello, INRG Studio. Hello. So I'm just sitting here just dicking around. I got asked a question and someone sent me a contribution to my YouTube page. So I thought I would talk about randomization, and we're not getting anywhere fast, but we're going to keep bashing at this thing until we figure out a way to do this. So what if the only way that we can really put something above it is with a text render, unless we create a widget. And I don't want to go through the trouble of creating a damn widget for it. So what if, I'm wondering here, I'm thinking out loud, what if we create a text component, a text renderer for every one of them, right? Isn't there a way to create text Set members in create. Nope, that ain't what we're looking for. Maybe it's add text. Look here. Add text render component. Okay. So for every one of those, which would be 9, we could get it to create a text render component, and then we could set the text of each text render component to one of those. Now the problem is here, probably what I suspect is it's going to stack all the text render components on top of each other. So will this work? I don't know. Let's see. Let's just see what happens. The worst that can happen is it blow up. Every time I get in this engine and I really get in a groove, I feel like Wile E. Coyote playing with an Acme Dynamite kit. So yeah, it definitely added them. But you see they're right down here and they're all stacked up on top of each other. So that's not ideal. So how the hell are we going to do this? Well, I mean, is it better to do it this way? Could we just manually put the sumbitches on here? I mean, it's debatable. But the problem is it's going to put them all in the exact same spot. And that is not what we need. We need them, you know, spread out, one in front of the other. Well, I have no fucking idea how to do that. Okay. So, I mean, see, we got this, right? And we could split this struct pin. And see, you would have to move it for every single one of them. So that I suspect is no bueno, right? That's just more trouble than it's worth. So then that brings us to the other thing, like when it's completed, do a for each loop. I mean, are we literally going to have to do something like this? Right, let's go into this viewport here. And let's get on this side. Are we really going to have to do this? Maybe we should reduce the amount of numbers, but just for demonstration purposes, let's do this. We'll call this one text render 1. And we will duplicate that. And that will be text render 2. And we will duplicate that. And that will be text render 3. You guys see what I'm doing here? Which is bullshit, by the way. And then we'll duplicate that. And we'll say this one is text render 4. And we are going to, just for the sake of time here, because I would like to talk about more randomization, we're going to change this around a little bit to just do 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. Okay. So we're going to change this to 4 here. And we'll still do the numbers between 0 and 9, but we're only going to make 4. Okay. All right, so when it stops then, we need to well, we really don't need to do this for loop anymore at this point. What we need to do now is just straight up get them, right? So we will say get a copy, and then we will set text render 1. So what we'll do is we will have to do this Oh no, that's not what I'm doing here. What the hell am I trying to do here? We need to get text render 1 and say set text. That's what we need to do. Okay. All right. So this is going to get stupid here, but I really just right off the top of my head, I don't have any other way to do this. So we will get what's in index 0 and we will set that. And then we're going to, well, we need to duplicate all this, right? So Control D. All right. So after that one's done, we will get what's in index 1 and we will set what's in text render 2. And then we can dupe it again. There's got to be a better way to do this, by the way, just so you guys know. If I was to sit here for about, oh, I don't know, an hour going, I'm sure I could figure out a different way to do it. We need text render 3. And this will be what's in index 2. Because remember, arrays start at 0. So the first slot is actually 0. The second slot is actually 1, right? You guys know how that works. All right, and we will dupe this again. And you know, this might not even work, right? Who the hell knows? But we're going to find out one way or the other. And this will be 3, which is technically 4. Which means this needs to be text render 4. Okay. And now let's see what happens here. And if it works, great. We'll move on to something else. Look at that shit. 5, 6, 3, 4. Now let's try that again and see if we get different numbers. Nine, 8, 1, 3. And then we do it again. 1, 6, 5, 2. So there you go. All that damn hard work for nothing. No, actually, that's pretty cool. So once again, you guys will have to figure out what you would like to use these type mechanics for, but you guys see how that could be useful, right? It could be useful. A little bit convoluted to do. And you know, we can go back over this just for clarity's sake here. So on event begin play in this object, I put a 5-second delay. After the delay, we start a timer that's looping, that loops every 0.1 seconds. And before it does anything, it's checking to make sure that the array that we created is less than or equal to 4, because we want 4 digits. And as long as that is true, it's going to keep pulling random numbers between 0 and 9 and keep adding them to that array until it fills up all 4 slots with a different number. When that is complete, it kills the timer, which means this stops. Then we take each one of our text renderers and we're setting the first one to whatever was in the array index 0, the second one to whatever was in array index 1, so on and so forth. And that is what is generating our random numbers. And voila. And it will be different each time that that logic runs. So then what you would have to do, just to finish off this before we move on to something else, say you were wanting to make it where it was a combination to a locked door, okay? If you were wanting to do that, you would have to take whatever value this generates, and that would be what you would have to put into your lock in order to get it to open, okay? So once again, I'm not trying to build mechanics here for you guys, but I'm just saying, whatever values this right here ends up generating, those values would have to be whatever if you created a door that had a lock that you could interact with where you could punch in numbers, you would have to transfer whatever this generates into the door so that when the user interacts with the door, he can put in whatever numbers were generated here. Okay. So it's just a stupid random number generator. Okay. Nothing fancy. What's unique about it is that it won't use the same number twice, right? Because that was the person that sent me the contribution. He wanted to know specifically how he could create a random string of numbers and not have the same number be used twice in whatever that random string was. This is how you do it. The whole secret is this add unique. Instead of just add to array, you add unique, and it will keep trying to add. And if it tries to add one more than once, it'll just skip it and keep picking random numbers until it gets a number that is not the same as one that already exists in the array. Okay? Okay. So, now, the next thing, I'm going to go ahead and actually, well, I don't know. What? We'll just save that? I mean, I don't know. Should we just save it, or should we just go ahead and move on to something else to make something different? Right, so we'll go ahead and create another blueprint class based on an actor, and we will call this VP Random Spawner. Now, I built this on live stream before too, but I think it's worth doing again. Okay. Same as before, we're going to add a object so that we can see it, right? So let's go. Oh, no. That's not what I meant to do. Damn it. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And we need to add a static mesh. And we will set this to be the same damn cube, right? Because why not? And we will pull this in here. And we're going to move it up just a hair. All right, and let's open this back up, back into the viewport, and we're going to add a box collision. Oh yeah, that's exactly wrong. Box collision. Damn it. Hey, look, there it is. Box collision. Damn it. This is... And you know what? Screw Unreal Engine 5, by the way. Period. Why is this trying to be such a dick to me all of a sudden? Okay, so we got us a box collision in here. And I guess we need to... Well, what? Move this back now? Let's turn off the collision of this static mesh. No, characters can't stand on it, and we're going to set it to no collision. Also, the box collision, we're going to... we don't need to generate overlap events. No, you can't stand on it, and it has no collision either. So I built this on live stream once before, but we are going to try to recreate it. Why did that not move? Oh, I see. I see what I did there. Why does everything have to be such a dick? It's because we should have used the damn built-in cube or whatever. Hey, look, it gives you shadows. So you can see if you're actually square. Is that how that works? Wow, that's new. Who'd ever thunk it? Are we actually there now? Yeah, that'll work. And we're going to pull this up further in the air. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a spawner, okay? Just a simple random spawner that can spawn any object that you choose to plug into it. So this could be used to spawn enemies, enemy combatants. This could be used to spawn random pickups, like health pickups, ammo pickups. It could be used to spawn coins that you pick up. It is simply a way to spawn objects into your game at random. Okay? So that's what we're going to try to build here. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is make it so that, and once again, this cube here, this is just so that we can see the damn thing. That's all it's for. Neither one of these has any collision to them. So the first thing we're going to do is make it so that we can resize the size of this box volume in the level. Okay, by simply selecting it, we want to be able to increase the size of the box so that we can set how far it covers to do this random spawn thing. Okay, so we're going to open this cube and we're going to go into the construction script right here, and we are going to take the box collision. We're going to get it, and we're going to say set extent. It's called extent. Maybe we should just type extent. There we go. Set box extent. Okay, so we're going to do this. And by default, I want to go look and see what that box collision is set to, which is 32 by 32 by 32. So back in the construction script, we're going to set this to 32 by 32 by 32. Then we're going to promote this to a variable, and we're just going to call it box extent. Like that. And then we're going to select that variable, and we're going to hit this little arrow thing here, which is setting it public, right? So what you want to do here is set it to instance editable. Okay, so check that little box that says instance editable. And now let's bounce in here and see if when we select it over here, we now have a Bex extent, which is spelled completely wrong, but you can now take this value and you can increase it in each direction, right? So that you can set the size that you want this little volume of random spawning to be. Okay. And now that you have that, you can move this wherever you want to in your level, and that's where we're going to get these random things to happen. Okay. So we're going to set that right there, and we will save all. And let's open up this again. And now in the event graph, on event begin play, let's see if I can remember how to do this, guys. It's been a while and I can't remember everything, and sometimes I have to just open shit up and take a look at a reference. So in this case, I think we're going to be set timer by event. And we're going to create a custom event. And we'll just call this fire sphere trace. And we shall plug that in here. And this is going to be looping every 1 second. And what we're going to be doing is a sphere trace by channel. Sphere trace by channel. Just like this. And we need to take the box collision here. And we're going to say get scaled box extent. Oh God, what is this other one? Random. Nope, that's not what it is. Get scaled box extent. Maybe it's here. Random. Right there it is. See it? Random point in bounding box. That's what we're looking for. Is that what we're looking for? Is that right? Somehow that don't seem right to me. Yes, you can ask questions. I'm trying to think here. This don't seem right to me. That don't look right to me. Random. Point. Random point in bounding box. See, that's not right. That is literally not right. I'm trying to think, where the hell have I done this? I need to figure out where the hell I done this. Because this is not right. This don't seem right. Something's off here. I mean, that would probably be the start point. But I don't remember there being two different values here. Unless maybe... Get world location. And then maybe that goes into that. And maybe that goes into that. And then we multiply this by a value. I'm trying to do this from memory here, so who the hell knows if this is right. Maybe it's by float. We'll find out one way or another. Multiply. That needs to be a float. Yeah, multiply that by a float. We'll say 10,000. And then we add these two back together. God, why did they do that? And that will be the end point. Is this right? And we'll set the radius to 5 for now. And turn on the draw debuggers for duration. Actually, that needs to be negative 10,000. Well, let's go see if it works. I don't think that's right, though. That don't seem right to me, but we will see. Nope, they're not going straight down, so something's definitely wrong. All right, well, I mean, it's close, right? But that's not exactly what it is. Let's see. So that would be the start point. And you're supposed to add those two together. Maybe it's that. Or maybe it's that, right? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. We'll keep dicking at it till we get it, maybe. It's been a long time since I built this shit, but see there now, it's definitely not doing any damn thing. So we had it more close to right a minute ago. Because of course we did. I'll keep beating at it until I break it. I mean, that's close. It's coming from the center. But see, that's the problem, I think. We don't want it to come from the center. We want it to come from the same random point, right? Isn't that what we want it to do? We want it to come from the same random point in bounding box. So maybe that's it. Okay. It's coming from a random point in the bounding box, but it's not going straight down. So something's still foobarred here. I think it's this bullshit right here. That node, for some reason, that doesn't look right to me. I don't ever remember it asking me for that. Or maybe these are backwards. Wait a minute. Actually, is it this? Is it really this? Is that what it was? I don't know. Nope, it's still doing the same damn thing. So we're close. No cigar. Looks like they're all trying to go to the same damn place, too. Son of a bitch. Well, I'll just keep unplugging and plugging shit until we get it to work. How about that? Now it's definitely not doing it. So I believe that's correct. Unless these are backwards. Don't tell me I'm going to have to go hunt through my damn own live streams to figure out what the hell's going on here. Oh, wait a minute. It shot one. Oh, yeah, that's definitely wrong. Okay, so that went to the center. That went to there. Maybe it's that. This is going to end up taking way too long here. Why are they not going down? I mean, it's kind of doing what I'm trying to do here, but they're not going straight down. All right, well, let's look at this. Oh, I think I know what it is. I think I already figured it out here, guys. You know what it is? I believe I know what it is. This has got to be plus negative 10,000 in the Z only. And that is to be the end point. You don't multiply this one, I don't think. How about now? Oh my God, look at that shit. So there we have it. All that bullshit. I had it fucking... Math is hard, guys. If you don't know math between floats and vectors and fucking transforms and shit, that's bullshit. Just so you guys know. Okay. So, now let's go back and recap how long I fucked this up. So let's go back and recap this here. Okay, so on event begin play, we're setting a timer by event, and we've got it set to 1 second, and it's looping. Then we're doing a sphere trace by channel. Okay, and we've got this set for duration so that we can see the lines. Then what we're doing is taking that box collision, we're getting its world location, and we're getting the scaled box extent, and we're doing this function called random point in bounding box. That is the start location. Then we're taking that same value and we're adding negative 10,000, and that is the end point. Okay, and we have our radius set to 5. If you want this to just be a line trace by channel, all you got to do is set this to 0, I think, and it'll be a line trace instead of a sphere, but I use sphere traces. Okay, so let's just pop back in here and make sure it still traces even with zeros. So yeah, if you leave a sphere trace by channel set to 0, it's exactly the same thing as a line trace. But the reason that I use a sphere trace is so that you can bump that up a little bit to kind of make it where it's easier to hit stuff, right? So it shoots a little ball out instead of just a straight line. See the little balls it leaves on the ground? And you can make that fatter, okay? Okay, so now that we have this thing actually working the way that it's supposed to, you can move this thing wherever you want to in your level. Okay, so you can put it over here as an example, and it will only pick those random points in that volume, that box that we created. Okay, and if you want to make it bigger, since we did that in the construction script, Now what you can do is put this in your level, like this, for example, and you could say, I want it to encompass this whole level. So then you select it in the level, and that box extent we added, you go in here and you jack these numbers up right here and right here until you cover the entire area that you want to potentially spawn your random object in. Now, the only thing to remember too is also this. If you move this up beyond 10,000, as an example, you may have to increase the length of the trace. See here? See that? So if you put that thing, if you put this way up in the sky, just keep in mind that you may have to lower it, okay? Increase this value is what I'm saying. So if you put that way, way, way up in the sky, you're going to have to make that negative 50,000 as an example. Now let's move into the spawning thing. Well, actually, another thing that you should probably do here just for safety is this actors to ignore. Create a reference to self here. Get a reference to self. Pull out of that and say make array. And plug that into your actors to ignore. That way it can't accidentally scan itself. Okay, so that's all that's really for, just as a precaution. Now to the spawning things. All you have to do is spawn actor from class here. Okay, and you can literally put in any actor that you want. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, what we're going to do is we're going to put in the third person blueprint, the third person character. Okay. That's literally what we're going to put in. And we're going to say, always spawn, ignore collisions. Why are we getting an error? Spawn transform. Oh, we got to get the location, right? So take your out hit, break hit result, and we want the impact point. Son of a bitch. We need to split this struct pin here, and we want the impact point. And you might want to put a branch here to say, you know, make sure that you hit something before you go ahead and try to spawn something. Okay, and we will do that. And now, theoretically, what should happen is it should start just randomly spawning those third-person characters. So let's see. There's one, there's one, there's one. Now, here's another thing. You see how it's spawning them down inside the ground? See that? More math, bruh. So what you need to do is take the impact point and plus add an amount to it before you spawn it, right? So we need to increase the Z value to something like, I don't know, maybe what, 50? Let's try that. So this will raise it up 50 from where the trace hits. So let's try that and see if that spawns them. No, they're still in the ground, so we need to go higher. Let's just do 90. How about that? Depending on the object that you're spawning, that'll be a little bit easier to tweak in the end. But there you go. Now they're spawning above the ground. See that? And you could probably even over exaggerate it, right? So let's just say 200 here. And since these are character blueprints, that means that they have gravity and shit. So even if they spawn above the ground, they should just fall down onto the ground, and they don't. Of course they don't, because it's going to make a liar out of me, just like always. So let's go back to 90. But you guys get the point, right? Depending on what it is that you're spawning, you may have to dick around with that value to make it where, you know, they don't spawn in the ground. See that? So once again, this could be used to spawn any actor. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a coin you make an actor. It could be a rock. It could be an enemy that actually has AI. It could be a health pickup, an ammo. It doesn't matter. It will spawn whatever actor you plug in right here. And let me bring Chad over here. Let's see. So the guy that was asking about the splines, I have never used a spline, so I don't know anything about that. Let's see. Splines. Okay, so yes, we did get the random spawner to work. And as far as using it for lightning strikes, yes, you would just have to, I mean, you could do it a couple different ways, right? One way would be you would create an actor that contains a particle that simulates lightning. That would be one way. Or the better way would simply be to, you know, spawn a particle at the hit point, right? So you could, instead of spawning an actor, you could do the spawn emitter at location, right? So you would be doing something like this instead. But depending on who made the particle for the lightning, that may or may not work, right? You spawn it there, and it may look like it spawned underground and come up from under the ground. It depends on how the particle's made. But if I was trying to do lightning, I would be more prone to do a spawn emitter at location. And it would just hit a random location, and then it would spawn that particle, and you would just have to adjust the particle so that it looks like it's coming from the sky, right? You know, I'd imagine they might do it with beams or something, right? Like you can take a laser beam and you can set its start point and its end point. So you could say start here and end wherever this trace hit at, right? So I don't know. Depends on how the particle is made. Okay. All right. Okay, so once again, that's for any actor. And what's really cool about doing it this way, as opposed to some of the other ways that you guys may have seen it done, is the fact that it's auto self-adjusting. And so, what the hell? Where the hell am I? Where did that thing go? Oh, there it is. Here's what I mean by it's auto self-adjusting. So if we were to blow this back wall out, and we come over here and create, let's see, how the hell do we even do this anymore? Select mode, oh, no, not foliage, ass hat. Landscape, yes, and we just hit the go button, create us a crappy landscape in here. Really, we got to compile shaders just to make a landscape. Screw you, Unreal Engine 5. Nobody even likes you anymore. That's funny. Anyway, you can bump up hills and things like that. See that? And then since we're doing it with traces, instead of just spawning it, it will auto adjust. So if there happens to be hills or whatever under where you're doing this, let's just go ahead and make this thing bigger. Bigger. No, not location. Yep. And now we spawn in here and fall through the ground because Epic's fucking stupid and they don't know how to get their shit above the goddamn default 0 point where the terrain is. Anyway, what you'll see and what you'll notice is that it will auto adjust depending on where the trace hits. So regardless of where it hits, it's going to spawn the object higher than the ground. So it will not spawn them. The distance makes no difference. See? That's the point I'm trying to make. One final thing, and then we'll move on here. If you only want it to be able to spawn on a specific material, okay? So what I'm trying to say here, here's what I'm trying to say. Say, for example, you have all these buildings, and the only place that you would spawn that, you only want it to spawn on the terrain and not on top of the buildings, okay? All you have to do is take whichever hit actor it hits and cast to the one that you want it to spawn on. So in this case, we only want it to spawn on the landscape, not on top of any kind of static meshes, okay? So the landscape is called a streaming proxy. So what you could do is take the hit actor, and you would do streaming cast to landscape streaming proxy. Now what this will do is every time that this hits something, it will check to see if it is a landscape streaming proxy. If it is, you allow this to spawn. And if it's not, that means this cast will fail, which means it ain't going to do anything. Okay? So what this will do is make it to where it will only spawn if it hits a landscape. It will not spawn if it hits anything other than a landscape. So let's just make a bunch of these copies here, and we'll just drag them around just to show you guys what I'm kind of talking about here. So if it hits on top of one of those, it will not spawn, theoretically. So let me get up here and see. What are the chances of that fucking random scanner actually hitting one of them? Slim to none. But you guys get the point. It will check to see if it's a landscape. If it's not, it won't spawn even if it hits it. Hey, where'd you come from? Anyway, whatever. Okay, let's see here. I like this channel. Just subscribed and hit the bell. Thank you. Thank you for that. How do you turn it off and on? Could it span random pickups at the start of the map and after the end? So one way that you could check is, what are we spawning? Right? We are spawning this third person blueprint. So what you could do is, before you fire this trace, you would need to have a way to get all of the objects that you're spawning. So in this case, it would be the third person character. Okay. No. We would be doing a get all actors of class. This is what we would be getting. And what we would be checking is, every time that this fires, we want to see how many of the third person character blueprints exist. Okay? And this number would be less than, you would need this to be less than, actually that's like fucking wrong. Array. Are we on arrays again? Are we really going to be sitting here dicking with these arrays again? I hate arrays, right? So we would say, okay, so get all, this would be the length of the array, and this would need to be less than, we would put a branch here, and we would say this needs to be less than a number. And if it's less than a number, this would be firing true, which means it'll do the trace, and it will keep doing this until it reaches that number. And in this case, we would say, let's just say less than 5. So it should keep running and spawning these things until it reaches 5. And then when it reaches 5, it'll quit. And then whenever it gets below 5, it'll start again, but it'll only spawn 1, theoretically. I think you see what I'm saying. But yeah, you would have to keep track of whatever object you're spawning. I believe it's already got to 5, right? See, so it quit. Hang on, let me watch. All right, so there goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and it quit, right? And so when this value gets below 5, that would start again. So here's what I'm trying to say. We've just got this jerry-rigged in here. Imagine that instead of spawning this character, you're actually spawning a coin. And let's say that you want to keep a maximum of 10 coins on the level at any given time. Well, what'll happen is you do this, except you're going to be looking for the coins. And the coins would have to be less than 10. Then when you pick your coin up, you destroy it, which means now you have 9, which means it'll kick back on and spawn 1. If you pick up 5, it'll kick back on and spawn 5 new ones. And it will maintain 10 coins at all times on your level. So that's how you would do it. But since we're just dicking around here, you know, I'm just doing this on the fly, just throwing crap together. But that kind of gives you an idea of how you could do that. Okay. All right. So another thing about randomization. So I'm not quite done yet. I want to cover a couple other things here. You can do random colors, right? So I don't know. Am I still going to keep dicking around in this one little area here? I mean, we already got this, right? So why don't we let's see here. Hell, let's just create a blueprint class, an actor, and we'll call this one VP Random Colors. And this time around, we're actually going to add a sphere because I'm tired of looking at boxes at this point. And we'll go ahead and add this in here. So let's go ahead and drag this into the level real quick here. And hopefully this one won't take near as long, theoretically. So let's pretend for a moment that we want to change this color at random ever so many durations, right? So we open this up, we go into the construction script. You'll see here that this color, this is important, so pay attention to this part. This default sphere that we're using has a material applied to it called basic shape material. And if you hit this, it will take you to where that is, which is right here. Inside here, you're going to see that there is a parameter in here called color. See that? We need to remember that parameter called color. So then you go inside your, you could do this with the construction script. You bring in the sphere and you say, create dynamic. Oh yeah, that's exactly right. Create dynamic material instance. And the material is the basic, what the hell was it again? Basic shape material. See, I didn't even pay attention. Basic shape material. Well, hell, we could just do this, right? Go there, And then in the construction script, hit that little arrow, bam, there it is. And then you promote this to a variable and you call this sphere dynamat. Yeah, let's just call it that. That looks like an excellent name. Okay. And then in the event graph, we're going to do this again. Actually, you know what? Since we've used timers so many times, we're going to use a different technique. Okay. So we're going to hold down the S key, S, left click, hold down S, left click, hold down the G key, and we're going to make a gate. Hold down the G key and left click. Did they take that shortcut out? You have got to be shitting me. They did. So we're going to right click and type gate because Epic's a bunch of fucktards and they change everything. So then 0, we're going to open this gate. Then 1, we're going to enter. And then we're going to exit. And then we're going to use a retriggerable, I can't spell that, retriggerable delay. And we're going to come out of then 1 and go into the retriggerable delay. And we're going to come out of completed and go back into enter. And we're going to do this on event begin play. And for now, we're going to set the duration here to 1. And then we're going to take the dynamat actually we're going to, yeah, I think that's right. Actually, you know what? Let's go back into the construction script for a second. And out of this dynamat, let's do set vector parameter value. And the name is the name that we looked at in that material called color. Oh, wow. No color. How did that happen? Color. Why? Cooperate here, please. Color. And we're going to promote this to a value, a variable, and we're going to call this sphere color, like that. And theoretically, it should be black, right? Because that's what we have that default color set to. So now we're going to take the dynamat, get it, and we're going to get the color. Actually, we don't need to get the color, right? We're going to pull out of the dynamat and we're going to say set vector parameter value. That is going to be color. And we're going to put this into then 0, like this. And if we pull out of this, can we type random? Nope. So we're going to have to turn this into a linear color, I think. Make linear color. Okay. And then we can do a random float in range. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but let's just see what it does. The worst it could do is blow up, right? We may have to just create an array of colors and have it select, but let's just see what the hell this does. Will it do anything? I don't know. Let's see. Nope. It just turned white. Yeah, that's not exactly what we're trying to do here. It's always got to be something, doesn't it? Let's see here. That's a linear color structure. Let's see. Promote to variable. change this to an array. Yeah, that's fine. You can do that. That's fine. And let's see. Is this what we're trying to do here? What is the value? Oh, look at that. Beautiful. So we're going to put in 4 colors in this array. And we're going to set one to red. And we're going to set one to green. And we're going to set one to blue. And then we're going to set one to this funky purple color, like that. And then we're going to pull out of this and we're going to say get. And then we're going to pull out of this and say random int in range. And we have 4. So it'll be from 0 to 3. And then that is what we're going to do this here. And this should happen every 1 second. Even though we didn't use a timer, we got some other little thing rigged up here. So let's see what happens. Green, purple, red, green, purple, green, purple, 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 red, purple, green, blue, green, blue. See there? Voila! So that's how you can do some random colorization. And once again, I'm not talking about mechanics, right? Like, oh, well, what would you use this for? Well, obviously, if you think about this for a second, you could make a red light. You can make a red light this way, right? Instead, you have red, yellow, and green. And you could make that light at random change from one to the other, right? So there's a lot of different mechanics you could use. You could use that for, like, if it's red, it's hot and it does damage. If it's blue or green, it heals, right? I mean, there's a ton of things you could do. All this live stream is about is talking about ways that you can make randomization in normal everyday mechanics that you see. So we've done a random text generator, right? Every time we respawn, that gives you a different set of random numbers that do not repeat, right? So watch it over here. Voila. We created a random spawner that can spawn any object. And now we have a way that you can randomize colorization. So that's another thing. That's pretty cool. Now, another thing that you could do, and we're not going to build this mechanic, but I just want to show you guys something. Another place that you can randomize things that a lot of people would not consider, but you guys should consider. Because the person that made the contribution, he specifically wanted to know about ways that he could add randomization into any mechanic. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is damage mechanics. Okay, so once again, we're not building a gun and we're not adding health to this player. We're just going to talk about randomization. So most of the time when people create weaponry in their games, you know, they put in a apply damage node of some sort. So you have apply damage, and then you have apply. There's a couple in here. So you got point damage, radial damage, you got damage with fall off. But what I would like for you guys to consider is, first of all, I never use floats as my damage. I always use an integer. Okay. Let me just call this damage. And the reason for that is because you do not deal in decimal pointed health values or damage values. Or at least I don't. Okay. Some people might, but I do not. So generally, when you create a damage for apply damage in a weapon or a fire or, you know, a hitbox, whatever it is, generally people do this right here. You plug in and you hard code in a value into your damage. So you would say, as an example, okay, well, this is going to do 100 damage, whatever it is, whether it's a bomb blowing up, a bullet shot, whatever. But instead of doing that, what you should do, or what I would do, is instead of just having a damage, you would have a, would you rename this variable, please? Thank you. You would have a min damage, and then you would create a maximum damage. Okay? Like that. And you would bring this in, and then you would do this. All this is doing here is converting an integer back to a float. But once again, I do not deal in decimal pointed damage. I'm not doing 100.3 damage. It's 100 or 50 or 25. Okay. Same with the health. You're not going to have 89.2 health. You're either going to have 80, 81, 82, 83. So I don't do that. Okay. And then you would do a random float. Well, you could do it this way. I mean, it's already converted, but just for demonstration purposes here, you could do random, same as we did with the number, random int in range. Okay. And you say, this is the max damage. This is the minimum damage. And then you plug that in as your damage value. Okay. And so let's say you had a gun and you wanted that gun to do 25 damage. Well, instead of doing 25 damage every single shot, you could say do between 20 and the max damage of 25. Okay. And I'm just going to put in a print string here just to kind of show you guys what I'm doing here. And we will do this. And then we're going to do a left mouse button down. And we're going to fire this off. And I want you guys to just see what I'm talking about here and why you would want to do this. Okay. So we're going to spawn in here. And we're going to left click and watch in the left corner at the damage. Well, actually it ain't doing shit. Why is that? What did I do here? Minimum damage of 20. Maximum damage of 25. And we're doing a print string and it is not printing out any damage. Well, it's probably because we didn't fucking plug a self in here. It's always something, isn't it? And the damn, I don't know. Do you have to have all that shit to hooked up for it to even register that it did damage? I don't know. Oh, look, 20, 25, 23, 23, 23. Now I'm just going to click the crap out of it and you guys watch the numbers change. So that means you're not doing exactly the same amount of damage every single damn time. Okay? Which gives you a little bit of flavor. As an example, if you get shot in the forearm, it's not going to do as much damage as if you get shot in the upper shoulder. Or if you get shot in the foot, it's not going to do as much damage as if you got shot in the nuts. Okay? The point I'm trying to make is this is not meant to be realistic. But it is meant to, instead of 25, 25, 25, 25, 25, now you can do 20, 22, 22, 21, 20, 19, right? Whatever you plug in as your minimum and maximum. It just adds a little bit of randomization so that it's not the same. Okay? And it's simple to do. You just put in a minimum and a maximum and you get a random integer. And, you know, it can be, all right, do between, now, I wouldn't do something stupid, like do between 20 and 1,000 damage. But if your goal is to make it do 100 damage, you could say, okay, the minimum is 90 and the maximum is 100. Give it a little bit, just a little bit of fluctuation between 90 and 100. Something to just flavor it up a little bit. Okay. And I think that is probably about the end of the live stream. I don't know exactly how long I've been streaming, but I think I've covered quite a bit of randomization. There's lots more places that you could do randomization, but these are some of the basic ones that I would use. Okay. Now, there is one more thing that I would like to cover, which got asked by someone who really didn't make a contribution, but since I'm making this video, I will go ahead and try to cover it. So he was asking me about collisions, right? And he was wanting to take a actor. He was creating collision volumes to do shit. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was trying to achieve, but he had one actor that he created for a cube, a box. He had a different one for a sphere, and he had a different one for a capsule. Okay. And so I had sent him an email and said, what you ought to do is create one single actor that contains all the different collisions that you would want to use in your game. See, here's the problem that he was having. Some objects, I don't know what the hell they were. Some objects he needed a capsule collision to use as a trigger volume. Some objects he needed a sphere to use as a trigger volume, and some objects he needed a capsule. And so when he created these actors, he created one for each collision type, and then when he got to doing his scripting or whatever, he had to re-script everything that he did for the capsule for the sphere, which then he had to re-script everything he did for the sphere for the damn box. And I told him, why didn't you just make it all in one single actor? And he kind of wanted me to explain to him what I was talking about. Like, well, you can't do that. He was like, you can't do that. He's like, you don't understand. I need a collision, a different shape for different objects. And I'm like, yeah, you can still create a single actor, and that single actor can contain all the different collisions. So what I would like to do is demonstrate that real quickly here as a way that you can achieve what I just mentioned. So as before, we're going to create a blueprint class. It's going to be an actor, and we're going to call this BP collisions, just like this. And then we're going to open this thing up, and we're going to put a sphere in here just so that we can see the damn thing. Oh yeah, that's spelled exactly right. Galt, did you even go to school? No, not really. Literally, we're going to put a sphere in here, and we're going to make sure that it has no collision. No collision. Okay? Very important. Pay attention here. No, it don't generate overlap event. And we're talking about just the sphere that I added. Okay? So no, it don't generate overlap events. No, the damn character can't stand on it. And no, it has no collision. None. It is simply a visual representation so that I can see this damn thing when I stick it in the level. Okay? Okay. Now what we're going to do is add our collisions to this object. So we're going to add a sphere collision. And I'm not trying to spell right, so don't give me shit over that, because honestly, I don't care. Okay, and now we're going to add another component, and this is going to be a box collision. And then we're going to add another component, which is going to be a capsule collision. Oh, no, no, no. We don't want that attached to the damn. Unparent, asshole. Don't try to do things that I'm not trying to do here. Okay? Collision. So now we have 3 different types of collision in here. Okay, now let's see. Let me take that ball of death here and let's make that smaller, like somehow. How can we do this? Let's lock the lock here and let's set that to, what, half the size? There we go. So now you can see that there's all 3 collisions in this same object. Okay? Now, this is going to get a little stupid, so pay attention here. So remember that this ball that's in here, it has no collision. It don't do shit, right? Like literally we should be able to just, yeah, see? It don't do a damn thing. It's just to say, okay, here's where that little damn thing's at, okay? Okay. So now what we can do here, I mean, there's a couple different ways that you can do this, okay? But since this is a bonus behind the scenes stream, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what the hell are these things called again? It's been so long since I've been in this engine and shit, I don't even remember now. Let me stare here. Enumerators. Ah, that's it. So if you right click here and you go into blueprints and you go down to this thing here called an enumeration. Okay. So if we select this and we call this something like E_collision types, like this. Okay. And if you open this up, it's just a list. Okay, so we're going to add three objects, and we're going to say the first one is sphere, the second one is box, and the third one is capsule. Okay, and that's literally all an enumerator is. But these things are very powerful, guys. I use the living shit out of these things. So now, if we come over here and we create a variable and we call it E_, what did we call that? Collision types. Let's just call it that. And never mind the spelling, okay? And we change this from a Boolean to the name of that enumerator we just created. E_collision types. What the hell did we even call that? Is that it right there? And let's compile that and save it. Yep, that's it. So now you see that enumerator we created simply has the listings that we put in it. And we created a variable inside this actor that we're creating to make all 3 different types of collision. It's in here. Okay. Now, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to turn on the visibility of all these collisions. Okay. So if you select the collision, there is a hidden in game here. I'm going to uncheck that. I want those to be visible in game. Just like that. Okay. And now when we look at this ball of death in here, now you can see that it's showing all 3 collision types. See that? It. Now, we can take this enumerator that we created and inside the construction strip, we can do some cool shit. So if we right click here and say switch on E, oh yeah, I spelled that exactly right. Switch on E collision types. What the hell did we call that thing? Switch on E collision. You know what? Let's just drag this variable in here and get it. Get it and pull out of that maybe, and we can type switch. See, this is why I should have bothered to spell that shit. Pull out of it and type switch on E collision P's types, whatever. And we're going to do this. Okay. And if this is set to sphere, we're going to take the sphere collision and we're going to visibility. Actually, what was that called? Let's get this right here. So sphere collision, what was that called? What was that under? Hidden in game. Okay, that's what we need, hidden in game. So back in the construction script, we need hidden in game. Set hidden in game. We're going to, let's see here. I want that to, I mean, in your game, you wouldn't want that to be visible. Generally, you wouldn't, but I turned them on just for a demonstration. So if we set that enumerator to sphere, we're going to set the sphere collision to not be hidden. Okay, so let's go back in here. I got these backwards. Let's set all these to be hidden in game. Okay. Yeah, hidden in game, box collision, hidden in game, capsule collision, hidden in game. Okay, compile that and save it. Back in here. So when we set that to sphere, we want that to be false, meaning we want to be able to see it. And we're going to duplicate this 3 times. And we're going to say box, and we're going to say capsule. Okay. Now watch how magical this is. Oh, one more thing. Oh shit, we got to bring in the box collision. And we got to bring in the capsule collision. Unreal, quit cussing at me. I know what I'm doing here. Pay attention. Okay. The other thing is we're going to do the same thing with this variable that we did with that box, right? So we want to set this to be instance editable. Now when we spawn in here, it is set to sphere. And do you see how we only see the sphere collision? See it? But if we select that in the level here and we change it to be a box collision and we spawn in here, guess what's visible? Look at that. It ain't a sphere collision anymore. It's a box collision. And if we set it to be a capsule instead, right here, it is now a capsule collision. Do you see that? Okay, now we're not done yet, but that's giving you the idea of how you can create a single actor that can be any type of collision that you need so that you don't have to keep repeating and repeating and repeating the scripting that you're trying to do. Okay, that's for the purpose of this. So now that we did that, we would probably also want to be able to set the size of these in the level. Right? So similarly to how we did that box extent, right? We're going to set, what the hell is it called in a sphere? Because I don't remember because reasons. Sphere radius, right? So what you're going to do is in your construction script, you're going to say set sphere radius. And we're going to plug that up here. And the default size of that sphere is 32, right? So we're going to promote this to a variable. And we're going to set that to, come on now. Well, we got to compile it because reasons. We're going to set that to 32, which is the default size of a collision. Then we're going to do a box. And once again, I believe that's 32 by 32, but let's just see. Yep. So we're going to pull out of the box and we're going to say set box extent. And that is going to be 32 by 32 by 32. We're going to promote that to a variable. And we're going to call that box extent. And then we're going to do the capsule, right? So what the hell size is the capsule? I don't know. 44 by 22. Wow. Okay. So what the hell is that called? There's two. Set capsule half height and capsule radius. Set capsule half height. And we got to, on this one, set capsule radius. So this one gets 2. Ain't that fantastic? And we will do this. We will compile that and save it. And we got to go see what those default values are. So the half height's 44 and then 22. So 44 and 22. We're going to promote this to a variable. And this is going to be called capsule half height. And I don't give a shit about spelling. Okay. Capsule half height. And then this will be promoted to a variable. And this will be called capsule radius. Capsule radius. And once again, spell it right, guys. I'm not spelling it right. Okay, so now we have to do the same thing to these variables. Select the variable, instance editable. 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 Compile it and save it. Now check out what we have the ability to do. So in the level, if we select this and we say this is going to be a sphere, then that means the sphere radius can now be adjusted. See this? From within the level. And if we spawn in here, look at that shit. Which then also means if we set this to be box, we can extend the box to whatever size we need it to be. See that? And we can spawn in here and check that shit out. Which then means if we set this to be a capsule, we can set the half height and the radius. And we can spawn in and voila. Okay? And what's even cooler about this is check this shit out. You can take the one in the level and you can duplicate it, and then you can duplicate it again. And you can say this one is going to be a sphere. This one is going to be a box. And this one is going to be a capsule. And then when you spawn in here, check this shit out. You've got one that's well, shit, I need to spread these apart because they're all bleeding together here. Hold on. We'll move this one here, and we'll move this one here. Okay, now check this shit out. All three the same actor. The only difference is one is a capsule collision, one is a box collision, and one is a sphere collision. See that? Now, we're still not done, because now if you're actually intending on these to be collisions, then that means you need to enable. Remember how, I don't know, did we do that? I don't know. This is where it gets a little bit more tricky depending on what the hell it is you're trying to do. Okay? Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. So if you look at the sphere collision, right, you got collision settings over here, guys. You have to pay attention to this somewhere. Where the goddamn hell is the collisions at? I know they're in here. Why am I not seeing it? What am I missing? There it is. So, here's the deal. Here's the dealio. So, you've got all these collision settings in here. Some of these you may want it to block. Some of it you may want it to overlap. Right? But generally speaking, there is another alternative. Okay? So you see how you've got overlap all dynamic, and then the box collision is set to overlap all dynamic, and the capsule is set to overlap all dynamic. Okay? Now there's a couple ways that you could do this. You could leave it all set this way. If all you're really needing to do is to get an overlap, you could leave it set this way. And what you could do is, now I know what you guys are thinking. If you go in here, you've got event begin play, you've got actor begin overlap, and you've got event tick. Did you guys know that there is actually two different ways that you can overlap an object? Okay. So you've got this one here called event actor begin overlap, but also if you select the collision over here and you right mouse click and you say add event, you've got on component begin overlap. Okay. And each one of these has that. So the reason that I'm mentioning this is because you could either do this a generic way or you could do it a specific way. So as an example, if you right click here and you say add event and you say on component begin overlap, that is only for the sphere. That means that if you overlap the box collision, it ain't going to do shit. And if you overlap the capsule collision, it ain't going to do shit. This will only fire when you overlap the sphere. Now, the generic way to do this is this way. It doesn't matter if you overlap the actor, it doesn't matter if you overlap the sphere, the box, or the capsule. If you overlap any one of those, this right here will fire. Now, similarly to how we did in the construction script with this, you could take this and you could literally hit Control C to copy it, and in the event graph you could hit Control V to paste that in here. Okay, and what you could do is you could say when the sphere gets overlapped, do this. When the box gets overlapped, do this, and when the capsule gets overlapped, do this. Right? So that's one way that you could divert that. And depending on, once again, what that's set to, it will fire this pin. Right? So watch this. I'm talking out of my ass here. Let's just put a print string in here. And we will call this one sphere. And we will dupe it. Oh shit, no, that ain't what we're trying to do. Control D. And we will put this one here. And we will say this one is the box. And then we will dupe it again. And this one is the capsule. Okay. Now, theoretically, what should happen here is when we overlap the capsule, it should say capsule. It should print in the left screen. It should say capsule. See? And when we overlap the box, it should say box. See? And then when we overlap the sphere, it should say sphere, right? So here's what that means. That means that if you want it to do something specifically, if it's only a sphere, you do this. If you want it to do something, if it's a box, specifically, you do this. And if you want it to only do this, if it's a capsule, you do this. Now, once again, there is another generic way to do this, and this would be this. You forgo all this right here, delete every bit of it. Okay? In your default settings for your sphere here, turn the collision off, right? So ungenerate that, set that to no, and set that to no collision. And do that for each of your collisions, right? So do that, no, and no collision. And do that for the capsule. Same thing, turn all that shit off, no collisions whatsoever. And then, in the construction script, right, take the sphere and say, set collision enabled. And this is going to be for the, make sure you're doing it for the right one. This is for the sphere. Where's the sphere? Is that it? Set sphere collision? Nope, that's not what we're trying to do. Hold on a damn minute. Set sphere radius, no. Come on now, I know you can do this. Collision. I know it's in here. I guess you just I mean, I know it's right here. I see it, but I'm trying to think here. So that was set to overlap all dynamic. So I guess you would just say set collision enabled, or maybe set response to channel. Is that what we're looking for? Yeah, maybe you could do that. Set that, and you would set that to, well, if you only want it to be dynamic, you would say world dynamic, and you would say to overlap. Okay? And we'll do that. And then we can dupe this. And this would be for the box. Same thing, we're just wanting it to overlap. And then we would set that to Control D. Let's dupe that one more time. Put that at the end here. And this will be for the capsule. Right here. So now, depending on what this enumerator set to in the level, it will turn back on the collision for whichever one it's set to. Which then means you need to re-enable overlap events, right? So that would be generate overlap events, right? And that would be true. And you don't have to do this, right? You could do this for every one of them, right? So you could do this. You could just hotwire all these together. Will it let you? I don't know. Let's see if we can get lucky here. Nope. It will not. So fuck you too, Epic. That means you're going to have to do this for everyone. So let me unplug this shit. Let me unplug this. Let's make sure we do this right. I don't want no hate mail. I get enough hate mail as it is. Don God, your damn Udemy course costs too fucking much. I wouldn't give you $3 for that. Well, then you don't get the course, do you? Assholes. Okay, and then we do this. Okay? And so now, it will only enable the collision to generate overlap events based on what that enumerator is set to. Okay? So that's just a precaution. You don't have to do that. But by doing that, what that'll do is that will eliminate what we did in the event graph by having to use what the hell was we doing? We don't have to use this in there, right? Now it'll just say, if you have it set to, if you want it to do the exact same thing, regardless of which one you overlap, you can do it now. Do this on overlap. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I meant to do, dumbass. Print string. Do this on overlap. And now, regardless of which one you overlap, you can do the same logic on all of them. So do this when you overlap. Uh-oh, it didn't do it. It didn't do it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hold on. I bet you we still have to set damn collision enabled. What do you want to bet? That just sets that. We have to set collision enabled. God damn it. We do. We have to set it. We first have to set the collision. Then we set it to what we want it to do. So we're not done, right? So this would be query only, no physics. I don't know what it was by default. Do you guys know? I don't know, but we can just do that. And we will have to do this for every one of them. It's always something, isn't it? But that's okay, because once you get this damn thing built, you don't have to have a damn different collision actor for every stupid type collision you're trying to do. So even though this might be a little bit more trifling to set up in the beginning, it will pay off in the end. Because now, let me just make sure that this shit actually works now. Hold on. Oh yeah, now it blocks. That's exactly not what we're trying to do. No collision. Maybe it's query only. I don't know. I don't remember. See, guys, this is why you should pay attention. Just generate overlap events, okay? Is that so hard? Now it's blocking everything. Mother. Hold on. Something ain't quite right here. Set collision enabled. Generate overlap events. Overlap, overlap, overlap. I don't see what's going on here. What the hell was that set to by default? It was overlap all dynamic is what that was set to. It's a collision problem. I know it is. I'm not seeing something right. Overlap. Maybe you can't do this in the construction script. That could be a possibility. There are certain things that you can't do, and this might be one of them. But something is definitely foobar here. So if I take that out, overlap, and that's just for the capsule. Let me see if I can just get one of them working so I don't have to sit in there and dick with everything. No, it's still blocking. That's not what I'm aiming to do. Is that set to, let's see here. Yep, that's set to capsule. Well, let's see if we can get it back to where there's no collision. Maybe I missed one. I don't know. I don't know, but this should work. Yep, see, it's still blocking. Okay. Well, how can that be? Then that means I must have. Did I set the damn sphere to have collision? Is that what I did? No, it's got no collision. Well, then why in the Sam's hell is that all of a sudden got collision? I don't get it. Well, let me just unhook all these. What the hell have I done here? How did I manage to blow this up, I wonder? Well, he definitely ain't going through that shit. That's for sure. So them somehow have collision on them all of a sudden. Well, it ain't that. It has no collision. I'm looking right at it. It has no collision. What the? No collision. No collision. Well, then riddle me this, Unreal Engine 5. Why the fuck has it got collision in? That's pretty hysterical. Did I ever tell you guys I hate this engine? Maybe I need to restart, right? Let me just save everything here. Let me close her down here. And we will try this and see what's going on here. I give up, right? Like we had it working a minute ago and I started dicking around with it and broke it again. If it ain't broke, fix it till it is. How about now? You gotta be shitting me. How is that possible that that has collision? Oh yeah, look at that. Don't you just love how that opens up in that little ass screen? That's fantastic. Let me drag a fresh one in here. How the hell does that have collision? There's no way. It's turned off. You can't do this to me. Look, see? Look. Look. But by God, that one ain't fucking around. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, whatever. Whatever. We're going to start all over here. Let me delete all these out of the left. Obviously, I broke something somehow. Okay, so let's bring this one back over here. And we will try this again, one step at a time, and see where I screwed the pooch. Because isn't that how it always is? Now, this has no collision. None. And we want this to be a sphere with only overlap. That's what we want. So, that means that all these should have no collision, right? So let me just verify this. Did I ever tell you guys I hate working with collisions too? I hate working with collisions too, right? So no collision on the stupid sphere. No collision on the stupid sphere collision. No collision on the box. No collision on the capsule. Which then means in the construction script, when we have that set to be a sphere, we want to query only, no physics. We want it to be for the world dynamic. Maybe that should be pawns, right? Well, let's just leave it for world dynamic, and we want it to generate overlap events, which should fire this, and it should say do this bullshit on overlap. That's what should happen. Now let's see if it does. Does it? Did it work? Nope, it blocks me. You motherfucker. I don't get it, Big Dan. I don't get it. And now watch, if I unhook this shit, I bet you that damn shit'll still block me again, won't it? Won't it? Okay, all right, fine. I have no fucking idea what's going on here. That shouldn't be a thing. Obviously, I broke it somehow. Now watch this shit. If I delete that, actually, let me try this. If I set that to box, yeah, it's still blocking. Wow, that is insane. Now watch, if I delete it and drag another one out, it has no collision. Okay, well, fine. Let's try this, right? So let's only do that. Maybe we just need to have it overlap. Okay, look, it's not doing a print string. So that means it's not registering, right? So it takes more than just that. So if we set it to query only, and then we set it to generate overlap events, how about that? Does that get it done? I don't know. I hate collision. Nope. Look at that. Can block them. You son of a bitch. Okay. Okay. Apparently you just simply can't do this in the construction script. And once you do it, it breaks it like permanently. See, because now I unhooked everything that I just did and it still got collision. See? Okay, so we're going to keep at this until I figure this out, because now I want to know. Now I want to know what the hell's going on here. Okay, so now we put a new one in here and it has no collision. All right, and then if we tried to set any of that in here, it breaks it. But what if instead we do this on event begin play? So let's come in here and we do this, and we do event begin play. Instead of trying to do it in the destruction script, let's try this. So now we go back in the construction script and we take this shit and we hit Control C to copy this, and we hit Control V to paste this in here. And if it's set to sphere, we do this. For the sphere collision, by now. There's always more than one way, guys. Always. How about now? And it blocks me again. Motherfucker. Now the question is, if I unhook this, will it goddamn go back to where you can go through it again? Because that's really strange, it doing that. Oh, look at that. So it does have something to do with it doing it in the construction script. Okay, I got it. I got that. So now, the question is, why is it just... So we got to set collision enabled. Query only. Let me just set that to pawn. Right, just for now, just to see, but it shouldn't matter. You would think a pawn would be world dynamic, but apparently not, because there it is. It works. See that? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. All that, and it was fucking that, really? Okay, fine. So let's go back into the destruction script and let's see if we can duplicate that phenomenon. Okay, and this is pawns only. How about now, you dirty son of a bitch? Oh, look at that. Imagine that. Okay, we got her now. We got it by the nuts now, guys. So we don't have to do this shit on event begin play, although you could. Right? All right, so we go back in here, and this needs to be set to pawns. And this needs to be set to pawns. And we need to hook every bit of this shit back up. And then I think we got her nailed. Wow, that was a lot of work for, you know. But hey, look, you got a single actor that has all the collisions in it, which is good. Now watch, it probably won't fucking work now. All right, so we're going to do 3 of these so that we can get each different flavor. Okay, so this is going to be a sphere, and we're going to bump up the radius just a hair. And this one is going to be a box, and we're going to bump up the box extents just a hair. And this one is going to be a capsule. And we will bump up that a little bit and that a little bit. Okay. Pray. So we overlap that. It says do this on overlap, and you can use that as the sphere. Do this on overlap, and you can do that whatever with a box. And then you can do the capsule. So there you have it, guys. That's how you can take one actor and create a collision and use it in 3 different ways. So if you need, and once again, just to show this part one more time, the versatility of this, all you do is drag it in. Once you get it in your level, you decide, does that need to be a sphere? Does that need to be a box? Or does that need to be a capsule? You set it here, which then allows you to change the radius here. So you can literally make it be as big as you need it to be in order to encapsulate whatever it is that you're trying to make a trigger volume around. Then if you need a box, you can hold down the Alt key and duplicate it, and you can say, okay, never mind, this one is going to be a box. And then you have these settings here where you can actually set in the level how big you need that box to be. And then you can do this one more time, and you can say, oh, nope, this one needs to be a capsule. And then you can set the capsule to be however big you need it. And what's cool about that is that once you script your logic in the event graph, why is that still here? You use the generic event actor begin overlap, and then you put your logic in whatever you want it to do, regardless of whether it's a sphere, a box, or a capsule. It will all do the exact same thing. But you have the versatility to be able to choose whether it's a box, a capsule, or a sphere. So, to the guy who asked me that question that I did go in depth into answering, you should send me a contribution. Show me another tutorial that exists where it says, it shows you how to make that. There ain't one, right? And so I think we are now at the end of the stream. So I hope I'm not very good at explaining this, the versatility of this, but I hope you guys understand the gist of what that guy was asking. He created 3 different actors. He created one actor that was for a box collision, trigger volume. Think of it as a trigger volume. He created one actor that he used as a box trigger volume. He created another one that he used for a sphere trigger volume. And he created another one that he used for a capsule trigger volume. And he was wondering why he was having to redo all the scripting that he did for the box, in the sphere, and in the capsule. And now I just showed how you can take one actor and combine all 3 of those shapes into one actor and use the generic. Now, once again, the earlier part of this demonstration, I showed how if you need it to do different things, depending on if it's a sphere, a box, or a capsule, I showed you how you could do that here, right? Well, let me just do that one more time. And we will paste that here. So if you want it to do the exact same thing regardless of the shape, you just script it right here where this print string's at. That's it. However, if you need it to do things different depending on the shape, you do this. If it's a sphere, do this. If it's a box, do this. And if it's a capsule, do this instead. Okay? All right. And we will go back into the construction script one more time just to let you guys see all that. That was the problem right there. It was the pawn. It needed to overlap pawns, which means it'll block everything else, by the way. So if you've got a gun in your game and you're shooting at those volumes, it'll probably hit it. Right? So I hate collisions, right? Like literally, I hate messing with collisions in this engine. It's a nightmare. But theoretically, it should only overlap pawns, which theoretically means that everything else it should just ignore, but that's not always the case. I probably got that shit backwards, but whatever. Okay, guys, I'm going to bring Chad over here one last time. Let's see. Yes, you can use it to spawn lightning strikes. Lightning with hit markers. Yes. I like this channel. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. How do you turn it off? We covered that. Let's see. Ripper Junkie. What's happening, Ripper Junkie? Always wondered how to use enumerators. Enumerators are wicked cool. Like you can do all kinds of shit with enumerators. Let's see. You have to ignore on overlap event, and overlap has collision by default. malicious munch. Well, we figured it out. I don't know exactly what the hell I was doing and why it was screwed up, but I think it was this. No, it was this. This was set to world dynamic. And as soon as I set it to pawn, it started working. Maybe that's right. Maybe that's wrong. And you know, honestly, you probably don't even need to do all that shit. If you do it this way, you definitely don't. But the problem is I didn't want him to run into the issue where even if it wasn't visible, he was still interacting with the cube collision when he had it set to sphere. I just wanted to make sure that we scripted this in such a way that if you're not using the sphere, it will ignore it. It's like it doesn't even exist. If you're not using the box, it'll ignore it like it doesn't even exist, and same. So doing it the way that we did it now, it will only use the collision that you have that enumerator in the level set to, right? So it'll ignore the box and the capsule. And if you change this to be a box, it'll ignore the sphere and the capsule. And if you set it to be capsule, it'll ignore the sphere and the box. All right. All right. All right. So with that, guys, if you like this video, if you like the content on this YouTube page, be sure to click the contribute to this channel button in the descriptions of these videos or in the banner. Send me $5 to my PayPal to buy me a cup of coffee, right? Either way. So with that, you guys take care. This is John Galt, and we will see you in another video in another time. Have a good one, fellows and fellettes.